Hey everybody, I'm Jesse,
And I'm Addie.
and we just finished watching Blue Beetle. Unfortunately, we skipped this one by a couple of days because we decided to watch Strays first, which I still don't regret. But I wish we could have seen both of these in the same day because this one really blew my expectations out of the water. Like, what my expectations were not low, but
Not
mid.
high.
Yeah. And it really blew me out of the water. I thought it was a very surprising superhero origin film that I was not expecting. The overall set design and world that they managed to build in this movie, along with a very interesting, ethereal sounding hero theme for Blue Beetle, and this neon cyberpunk Tron esque world they build around him, stays very cohesive throughout the film and works really well. I thought it was a nice touch to it. It all ties in nicely. There's everywhere from like the big buildings in the city to the watches that they use to
The
the
design of the tech,
gadgets.
yeah.
Everything ties in together. Well, it's going for this retro 80s, 90s vibe, but in a future setting. Very interesting world building. I thought it was really nice.
Yeah, same. I was also really surprised with it. I thought it was just going to be another superhero movie, which it kind of is, but they made this one a little bit different and they tied in more like values and like other aspects that they had in other movies. I also thought it was going to be kind of like dark and gloomy since this is in the DC world. So I don't think this one was in Gotham, but it's in like
No,
the similar universe. So I
I
don't know.
think
I thought it would also be kind of like gloomy and dark
yeah,
like
everybody gets
Batman.
confused because yeah, well, Batman is one, and everybody's also kind of used to and still has in their mind like the whole like Zack Snyder universe, which was the
Mm-hmm.
era of like Henry Cavill Superman,
Yeah,
Ben Affleck Superman, and all those, and he was just going for this really dark, serious
very dark.
tone. So seeing something like Beetle thrown into the mix is something very unusual
Yeah,
to see for
eclectic.
DC, I guess. Um, yeah, and also the Latino aspect in this film has been by far, in my opinion, one of the best representations of Latinos in
I
this
agree.
genre.
Yeah.
Because and not even in this genre, even past a little bit past this genre. Like I was saying, I was like the other best thing I could think about was probably like Coco, but it didn't really hit that spot for me. I know it's an animation, and they did do their research, and there's some things like the chancla or this and that, but it's like it didn't really hit that spark for me. And this, the how the characters interact with each
Mm-hmm.
other and like the family aspect
Yeah, the
in this
little
film
quirks that they have.
is they either did great research or had just had an amazing team of Latino people working on the film, which they did. The director and everybody, the majority of people working on this film
Yeah,
are
yeah.
Latinos.
Everybody that represented a Latino was Latino, and
Mm-hmm.
there was one girl who was Brazilian, and
Mm-hmm.
she's Brazilian in the movie and also like in real
Yeah,
life. So I think they did a good job at piecing together their cast to like represent the characters they were representing. And I'm sure a lot of it pulled from their own experiences just growing
exactly.
up and like having a family and like things that they say to their kids and stuff and like nicknames. So they really did a great job representing like a Mexican household and like a Mexican family with
Yeah,
all of their little.
the conversations they have, the stereotypes. It's all just like we were watching this movie, and I was like, the dad. I was like, oh my god, like that's my dad. And then the sister, like stereotype, I was like, oh my god, that's my sister. The way they interacted with each other, banter, the nicknames and stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I could relate, and I was also like thinking the entire time. It's like I've never really come across the aspect of representation. Not because I don't think it doesn't matter, but for me, I went to a film and I just wanted to see great acting and a good story. That's all I cared about. And I was like, I don't care about so much about the ethnic backgrounds of people or who they're supposed to be. Like if for example, like how first one that comes to mind is like Nick Fury being white in the comics versus
Mm-hmm.
Samuel
In
Jackson
IRL,
in the
yeah.
movies, right? Um, it worked for me. I was like, Samuel Jackson's doing a great job acting. That's all I care about. But I can see now. I guess this is the first film that has really made it come across to me as like I see why representation
Mm-hmm.
matters. It like especially when done right. It just hits an extra tone for me. That it's
Hits
just
you in
like
the heart, in the
yeah,
feels, pulls the
definitely.
strings.
And so I guess I can finally open my eyes and be like, all right, it matters.
You're
You know,
enlightened.
I've been enlightened. So
Imagine watching that movie as a little kid and being like, wow, they look
yeah,
like me.
So yeah,
Is Blue Beetle Latino also in the comics?
I want to say he is.
Hmm.
I want to say he is, which is why they did this film this way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Probably do the like Google it real quick after this and just put a disclaimer at the bottom if he's not. But I'm pretty sure he is. I didn't read the comics when
Yeah,
before this or anything. But I'm pretty sure that's why they made the film this way because he is Latino in the comic. But
I just noticed you're wearing a Marvel shirt for a DC
yes,
movie.
this is the closest I had to a superhero film. T-shirts. So unfortunately, that's all I could wear. I'm probably gonna cave in and buy like a blue Beetle shirt that like goes all the way to the sleeves or something. But yeah, I just loved everything about their interactions and everything. George Lopez, I was kind of annoyed with him for a little bit the way he treated that up and coming comedian Rafael.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Something.
I forgot his last name.
Yeah, I forgot his name. He's on Hulu. But oh man,
Barbosa.
What?
Rafael Barbosa.
Yes, there you go. Good job. But he did so good in this movie. Like
Yeah.
I loved him as this like crazy,
literally the crazy
gangster uncle
yeah.
that's also like into like conspiracy theories and
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and like it's like oh everybody's out to get us
We
and
all
everything.
have that one uncle.
I loved his character. I was like I want to be him. But yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed every aspect. Again, this is another aspect of the film. That just like every little detail, they did great with the nicknames and everything, and their charisma.
Clothes,
and
yeah, the charisma.
There was like, I mean, if you
the things inside the house, the like decorations, they had like like things that like are in my grandma's house, and I'm just like, yeah, of course, every Mexican family has like a little statue of La Virgen and a little altar with like candles and stuff. So it just felt very relatable. Yeah,
like I would just notice these little things like that's perfect. Like when he's George Lopez is driving his truck, and they're like, no, this is not a spoiler. And they like zoom in on him as he's driving, and you see he has two bobbleheads. I didn't catch the other one, but one of them I think is Cheech.
Yeah,
and he's wearing his costume from I think the movie called Born in East LA, and so I was like, that's such a tiny little thing to pay attention to, but get right.
Yeah,
I was like, that was really cool. Besides that, just talking about the family aspect, like I read something earlier this morning, and I was like, well, we'll see, if it's true. And after watching the movie, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's not on par. They're not really going. They might not be going for the same thing, but like this movie does kind of like what Fast and Furious has been trying to nail for the past couple of years with their later movies, where like they're trying to hit that love and charisma that a family has, but they don't really hit the nail on the head.
And they're too busy falling out of cars in space.
Yeah, but you can argue it isn't the same genre because the past couple of films have basically been superhero films for Fast and Furious.
True, that's
so
terrible.
They all have powers at this point, and they
can't call them on
wacky things. So I thought that was an interesting thing to note. That I was like, yeah, I guess if you want to compare it to Fast and Furious, this definitely does get it right when it comes to family and whatnot, and just really hitting you in the feels sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Very good.
Yeah, besides that, just some final notes for me. I really loved just all the Easter eggs throughout the entire film. So many little things that you might, again, for anybody else might be like, oh, that's a bit of a stretch.
I caught none of them.
I wouldn't say it's a stretch. There are some things that are blatantly obvious. But there's things from like Mortal Kombat. There's like nods to Jurassic Park. There's nods to Iron Man, of course. But it takes Spider-Man as well. Just takes these little tidbits. Again, you could say I'm stretching and reaching for it a bit, but it takes these notes from other movies and does it right. It's not super like, oh my god, they did the exact same thing. It's just kind of like they took notes from other films and just mended it together properly and made it work.
It's not plagiarized.
Yeah, I mean, there's many people that do that. Like easily the first one that comes to mind is like Quentin Tarantino. He says it all the time. Like he learns from these other films and makes his own by gathering ideas from other films. So it's okay to take these ideas, and as long as it works and makes sense, if it just doesn't like stick out and it's like, why is that there for some reason? That's clearly they're trying to be Spider-Man or something, but it doesn't work. But in this film, it just blends right into everything.
Yeah, it was seamless. It blended really nice.
Yeah, and there's some really good fight scenes in this. The one that's right on the top of my head is this hallway scene. For some reason, I love hallway scenes when it comes to fighting, especially when done right. Like John Wick, Daredevil, like they really do a great job with the choreography. And Blue Beetle has a hallway scene where it's just, I think it's not over the top like a John Wick or something, but it's just done really well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. the soundtrack was also really good.
Yeah.
From the first song that came out, are we allowed to?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
a
go
spoiler?
right. Yeah.
The first song
That's
that came
not.
out was Atrévete. It was like shortly after the opening credit
Yeah.
scene, and I was like, I just know this is gonna be a good film if this is how they're starting it off. But yeah, they had a good mix of like cumbias,
They had
Vicente
Luis Miguel.
Fernandez, Selena. Yeah, they had a surprisingly good and like authentic Mexican playlist for the soundtrack.
Indeed. I had seen the playlist on Facebook and I was like, really? I was like, is this really the playlist for this movie? I think the only one that's not like a Latino like song is "Kickstart My Heart" by Motley Crue. But that one is easily forgiven because A, I love Motley Crue, and B, it goes so well with that
It
scene.
goes well in the
I get
scene,
you
yeah.
every time I hear that song. I get goosebumps. I love that song, and it's just like great for like a fight scene or something where you're trying to like hype people up. It's a great hype song. So I thought it was done perfectly well. But yeah, there's every song in this film besides "Kickstart My Heart" is like a Latino anthem
Yeah, yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. Um, and that again also lends into the fact that if you take away all those songs, it might not have hit me as well as it did when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like representation. You know, with all those songs, you feel like it's even more. Everything
Yeah.
in the film just stacks on to the levels of this cake of relatability. So it was great. Absolutely blown away by how much I truly like this film.
Yeah. Exceeded expectations.
Yeah, for me, I am gonna be generous and say a 9 out of 10. Just
Wow.
not a 10 out of 10 because I don't. I want to reserve that for some of like some of the films that I'm just like think are truly just special. But this one just really blew me out of the water. Like not flat out 9 out of 10 for me. I had a great time, extremely relatable, fun, quirky, and there wasn't any like super cheesy acting. I get really annoyed sometimes when there's like these cheesy lines where like they try to come off as funny and they're not
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
But this one didn't really have
No,
any of
I
those. Like
didn't
even the
pick up
parts where
any
I'm like,
cheesiness.
oh, like they're gonna say some like quirky line where it's gonna be like it's funny, but it's like oh
Yeah,
it's cheesy, like eye roll. I didn't have
yeah.
any of those eye roll moments. So which usually tend to happen when they're trying to come off to the audience and be like, hey, we're a good fun film. Um, they didn't have that, so I really like that.
Nice. Yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. I definitely did like all of the actors. I think they did a great job. The thing that like made it weird for me was the what did you call it earlier? The tronification of
Yeah,
the things.
cyberpunk,
Yeah,
neon
that
city.
cyberpunk
Yeah.
like aspect aesthetic. There's like a couple of scenes where they're at this place and you can kind of see the city skyline and like all the buildings have like neon colors and it looks kind of hazy. It looks like a robot world, even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not. It's like a people world. That kind of like made it a little weird. And then also the gadgets. It is meant to be, like cyberpunk, and the gadgets are also meant to look like they're vintage. But that just felt like very out of place. And I guess that was the idea, but it just felt weird to me. But everything else was really good. Like I said, soundtrack's good, actors were good, storyline was pretty okay. The fighting scenes, I didn't get any Easter eggs. I thought they were another superhero fighting scene, but I still think it was a good movie to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, and I'm super addicted to like Rotten Tomatoes. So if it's not like a couple of days, the day of, I'll check Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, let me set my expectations for this film. And for some reason, I like everybody. I had seen just posts of people being like, if this movie doesn't make it, like that's it for Latino representation. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what. I don't know, everybody was being super pessimistic about it. Um, and I logged on and checked Rotten Tomatoes, and I was like, what? I saw it was like certified fresh by critics. I
Wow.
think it's like at 80 or 90, and then
Nice.
also like audience was like up there as well. And I was like, okay, this movie's gonna be good then. All right, and I hadn't checked it earlier because again, I was just riding this train that everybody else was
Mm-hmm.
being super pessimistic on the film, and I was like, well, my kind of like set my expectations to match what everybody else was saying as well. So seeing that Rotten Tomatoes got me kind of excited for it this morning, and I was like, okay, we're probably stepping into something better. So yeah.
That we did.
Mm-hmm. But overall, closing thoughts. Rush to see this film. Go check it out in theaters.
Go
It is
buy the
great.
bucket,
This is
the little
like
scarab beetle bucket or
this.
backpack.
I feel like I feel like what this is the equivalent of like what is it called? Black Panther for us, I guess.
I
kind of.
guess I don't think it. I at least didn't hear that much buzz about
Well, no,
it
because
being.
everybody wanted because it's well, I mean,
Yeah,
mind you, because it's DC.
yeah,
You get me
yeah,
with DC already. Like everybody has this bad taste in their mouth
yeah,
that like the film is gonna be meh, okay, it's not gonna be that
yeah.
great, you
I
know.
think I heard more chatter about the what's the Marvel one?
Oh, you're talking.
The water guy, the one that's
Oh, yeah, yeah, of
under
course.
the
It's
sea.
the Neymar. Neymar,
Yes,
is that his
yes,
name?
yeah.
Gosh, I'm sorry, guys, if we're slaughtering this. We
Cut this out.
Yeah, but like, see, but that was still Black Panther. Like, it wasn't like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
you're right.
he wasn't the
You're right.
titular character
Yeah,
of
I
that
didn't know.
film. Yes,
All
he
of
was
Marvel movies
Latino.
are like one big movie in my
Yeah,
brain.
he was Latino, but
Hmm.
it wasn't his film.
Yeah.
If it was about him,
Hmm.
then it would have been like, hey, this is like the Latino Marvel film.
Yeah.
The one that was supposed to be or is supposed to be Latino Marvel film is the one with Bad Bunny playing the luchador,
Oh
but I
yeah.
think it got canceled.
Hmm.
I might be wrong. But that's supposed to be like the Latino representation film on Marvel's side.
Mm.
So for me, this is what did it.
Hmm.
And they did a great job. Again, it's I feel like it's DC just leaving a bad taste in people's mouths right now, where everything is real hit or miss. I think
They're flip
Shazam
flopping.
2 was supposed to be like what people were really looking forward to because Shazam 1 is really good. We haven't seen either one of them. But everybody was looking forward to that one, and that was a flop. So even when people do get hyped up for DC, they set their
They're like,
expectations
eh.
not so good just because they have a really mixed track record right now. So
Yeah.
they need to get their hopefully with James Gunn, they'll get all their ducks in a
Hmm.
row and get things going. Because if they can bring this charm and charisma to more films,
Yeah.
then it'll definitely work for out for them. Yeah.
Marvel is quaking.
Yeah, I think a lot of people right now are having Marvel fatigue. The bad thing about this is that if even James Gunn manages to get everybody like lined up and like feeling good about DC, I feel like they're too late to the game. Just because Marvel has been pumping out so much stuff for years
Yeah, it's
already,
just gonna be at
people
this
are
point
getting
superhero fatigue. And
exactly. People are not just getting Marvel fatigue; they're getting superhero fatigue. So it's gonna be an uphill battle for DC. But if they can do it right, who knows? They might be able to strike gold on this. But we'll see. Like I said, definitely rush out, go check out this film. It's quirky, fun, entertaining, great time for everybody and anybody. Um, yeah, overall, I think we loved it.
yeah.
So go check it out. Let us know what you think if you've seen it or plan on seeing it in the comments below. Till next time, bye.
Bye.